Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Firefighters podcast, where we seek to develop, inspire, and motivate the world of the emergency services operator through a series of wide-ranging conversations. Now, before we go any further, just hit that rate, follow, or subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to. It's a key performance indicator for us and helps us reach even more people. Now, here's what we've got for you today.
In today's episode, I'm speaking with my good friend, Firefighter Challenge multiple gold medalist and returning guest, Helena Brown, as we aim to continue encouraging you to set some big, hairy, audacious goals and step into some healthy habits for 2025. And I'd be remiss if I said that this is just as easy for all of us, because it's not. I've known Helena for a little while now, and I've seen how difficult it is for any athlete to perform at a high level. But for women and finding female role models, it's not as simple as that. Positive female role models are hard to come by, especially in sport. Only 12% of global sports coverage focuses on women's sport, and the lack of media representation reinforces that idea that women's sport is less important. Did you also know that girls are twice as likely to drop out of sports by age 14 compared to boys? One of the key reasons cited for this is a lack of visible role models and gender stereotypes that suggest sports are more suitable for boys. And it can do so much for them, so much for all of us. Girls who participate in sports have 92% higher confidence levels, so seeing female role models can help normalise women's participation in sports, encouraging more girls to stay active and build self-esteem. Sport, similar to the professional firefighting, has historically been seen as a masculine pursuit, so role models help break this stereotype by showing that women can be powerful, competitive, and successful in these domains. And we're going to delve into so much of this today. So in my chat with Helena today, we're going to discuss marathon running, approaches to personal growth, the significance of training and recovery in fitness, and we're going to discuss the impact of social media on all of our mental health and the importance of detoxing from it, also how it can drain your energy. We explore coping mechanisms for dealing with negativity, emphasizing the need for self-encouragement and humility. Helena also shares her own journey of rediscovering her passion for sports, the mental and physical benefits she's taken away from it, and she also reflects on her 2024 season, including the toughest firefighter alive, British Firefighter Challenge, the Welsh Firefighter Challenge, Denmark, High Rocks, and many, many more adventures. We discuss her prep, training regime, and the significance of proper kit selection. We're also going to touch a little bit on her dietary choices that support this high level of performance. So there's a lot to get into here, and we also look ahead to the 2025 season. Helena expresses excitement about future competitions, and as I mentioned at the very beginning, her commitment to fostering, feeding, and encouraging a community of engaged female athletes in this space. I always enjoy having Helena back on the podcast. It's such a privilege. I know you're going to enjoy this one. I'll see you on the other side. Hey, you.
Hey.
I always think of you as like that wandering hero, that other friend. And there's many of them in our sort of circles who are out there doing their own thing quietly in the darkness. And then every now and again, you see the wins, you see the hard work manifest itself in real life, because they always say like you get rewarded in public for the things you do in private. And I always think about people like you, and we were just talking about George and Bex and the Antarctic Fire Angels, and I spoke to Alan recently, and I had Zach on, and those sorts of people just toiling away in the darkness, and it's a real privilege to be able to share the friendships with them. You just actually got involved with George and Bex and kind of supported them in their whole thing. So give us a bit of a whistle-stop tour of how that came about.
Yeah, so obviously I received an email from the higher management saying that George was going to be in Manchester competing her 5th marathon, and if I could support her with that. So I said, yeah, 100%. So I arranged with another girl called Hayley that we would both run the second half of the marathon, and our assistant chief fire officer got involved. He ran the first half with her, along with a couple of the trainers from a training school. And we met George at the halfway point, and we completed the second half. And it was such a privilege to be able to support her with that.
This episode is brought to you in partnership with Godiva Limited. Godiva is one of the world's leading providers of specialist equipment for emergency services market. Renowned for innovation, quality, and reliability, Godiva produces a comprehensive range of fire pumps, including vehicle-mounted, portable, and their cutting-edge integrated total water flow control system, SAMFlows. I've been using Godiva my entire career as a reliable pump on the fire ground. It is such a crucial element of a successful firefighting team that you want to empower your crews with the very best, reliable, quality product. Reach out to our partners by checking the notes in the podcast. Now back to the show. So for people that are unfamiliar with this, George and Beck's Antarctic Fire Angels, they had their second big attempt, which is this one. They were going to do their 7-7, which is 7 marathons in 7 days in 7 continents. So 7-7-7. Sorry.
Yep.
Obviously, everybody these days is asking for support for something or other, and there's many great causes out there. They got some great support. I actually introduced them to the MSA lot, and they got their kits made, and they've got a number of other partners and sponsors and stuff. But unfortunately, they didn't quite achieve the full goal to be able to get them both out on this big
No.
adventure. So, but it's something we spoke about before we started recording, which is like, don't let great be the enemy of perfect. So they decided to, and I actually think it's probably worked out really nicely, because it's given both of them different opportunities. And like you said, you were able to share in it, and also lots of other services and brigades will get to be able to do that run with Georgie as well. So she's doing, this was her 5th of 7 marathons
It was her 5th, yeah.
around the UK.
Bex is actually a marathon ahead. She started
Okay.
very early because she had to fly out to Antarctica for the first one. I think it was something to do with the weather conditions. She started a day early, and obviously, so
Okay.
Bex is like George is one behind. So she's going to Oxfordshire today, and then tomorrow she'll finish in Southampton. What an amazing woman, both of them.
I think they're both got such different and beautiful characteristics. I always think of George as full stoic. Like when I
Yes,
sit and have conversations with George, she is so she can be very harsh on herself,
yes,
as
oh,
she'll admit openly.
mm-hmm.
But sometimes you've got to have a bit of that in your character. It kind of
Mm-hmm.
comes with the whole package, doesn't it? Of being able to achieve and have the perseverance to do some of these things that take a very long time to plan, a very long time to achieve. You've got to be willing to just doggedly keep going at it in the darkness. And
Absolutely.
then who's got Bex, kind of the other end of the spectrum, very strong athlete, very disciplined equally. But she always seems the more, from their adventures in the Antarctic, she's the more playful one. She can sometimes be the cheekier one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think they're a beautiful complement to each other, and great ambassadors.
Yeah, after running with George yesterday, I said, right, I'm going to go home now and watch your documentary. Is it Fire and Ice? So I found it on
Yeah.
ITVX. If anyone's not watched it, I'd advise it to. It's great, very inspiring. So yeah, I came home last night and I was stretching, doing a bit of yoga while I was watching it after the run. So yeah, it was very interesting. Great.
So you yourself, you've not yet done the 777 challenge or anything like that, but what I love about yourself, and we'll, through the course of our conversation today, we'll no doubt appreciate many other people. You've had another really successful year. I think when did you first come on the podcast? Was it last year or the year before? I can't
It
remember.
was
Was it
last
last
year
year?
after the British Firefighter Challenge.
Last year after British.
Yes.
You've much like many other people, but I'm going to blow smoke up your bum throughout the course of this conversation at times, probably because I know you're not the one to sing your own praises, and I kind of give you a nudge. Not that I'm remotely good at any kind of social media, but I said to you, like, don't be too shy about being proud of yourself in a public space, because we
Mhm.
forget how many people can see themselves in you and can see themselves in others. But they're often the sort of people that I often think half the time social media is full of people who can sometimes talk a good game because they're not actually doing it. They're spending more time talking about it than they are doing it. Where I think you're the flip reverse, where you spend a lot of time doing the thing and don't necessarily sing it from the hilltops. Your service has been very good and kind to you in promoting you, and I think it's great that they recognise you as a good ambassador. But since our first conversation, you've kind of stamped a bit of a dominance. Not maliciously or better than anybody else, but you've really focused in on creating a bit of a niche, certainly in the firefighter games world.
Mhm.
And I wanted to get you on to try and see if we can pull any breadcrumbs of strategies, tactics, ideas, what drives you, maybe some of your approaches to training and rest and recovery, and see if we can lay out a bit of a buffet of ideas and tips
Mhm.
and tricks. Not saying that you've done it perfectly, and none of us are perfect, and some of these things, pick up what works for you and then leave the rest and don't kind of worry about it. So since we had our first conversation, how's life been? How's training been going?
So yeah, after the British Firefighter Challenge, it was the Cheshire virtual challenge that I did. So that was literally straight after, wasn't it? September, wasn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, towards these events, I am doing specific training. I've got a team down at Stretford Fire Station, not far from me. A couple of watch managers. They're really focused, really driven, and I love training with them. So I focus on obviously specific movements, and then away from firefighter training, I'm doing strength training in the gym. I normally do like a lower body session, an upper body session, and I go for a couple of runs and do a HIIT session. I probably could lift more weights than I should. I find strength training quite boring, and it's not, as you can tell by my build, I'm not a bodybuilder. I don't lift a lot of weights, but I do try and get a low body session in, just focus on my legs, and an upper body session in at least once a week. And at the moment, I'm high rocks training, so I've got a couple of high rock specific training sessions in, and a bit more running because it is a running event. As you know, you competed on. Well done. You and John Gregory, that was amazing. And yeah, like I say, improving my running at the moment in some core strength.
You've said when you do some of your strength training, obviously it is, I mean, the very nature of it, I always say to people, it's called repetitions for a reason. It is just the same thing over and over again, unless you can sort of entwine it within a sort of strength-based class of some form. You do get involved in some classes still from time to time, so you do like engaging group activity as well.
Yes, I do a HIIT class, yeah, at least once a week, which I really enjoy.
What's the benefit of putting yourself around other people?
It's very competitive. The class I go to is very competitive, and it really pushes you out your comfort zone every time I go. So I really enjoy it, and it's normally a lot of powerlifting and stuff like that, which is good, which I don't normally do on my own.
How do you manage it around shifts?
Yeah, so normally after a night shift, I'll just see how I feel. If I'm tired, I won't push myself hard. I'll just go for a gentle, steady state cardio run or on the bike. I take it easy. I don't believe in training when you're tired. I don't think you get a lot out of your body. I always prioritize my sleep. So, like I say, my training, it's not very regimented. Each week will be different, depending on how I feel. Obviously, life gets in the way. And if I'm tired from a night shift and stuff, I'll just delay the hard sessions till later on in the week when I've got my days off.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Gore-Tex Professional Fabrics. Now, we all know the working environment of a firefighter is filled with challenges. We face serious risks on the job, such as heat exhaustion, burns, physical and mental stress, and we frequently come into contact with high levels of toxic chemicals. Now, I have been wearing Gore-Tex for nearly 2 decades on the front line, working in hostile environments, tackling challenging incidents from firefighting to water incidents and in urban search and rescue environments. Gore-Tex have a well-earned reputation for protecting professionals in the fire and emergency services through their family of highly innovative, waterproof, breathable moisture barriers that exceeds global performance standards and are trusted worldwide. Gore-Tex, going further together. You said you don't train before shift anymore.
So I used to wake up at 6 and the class started at 7. And I used to train before work, but I've stopped doing that because I feel like I need my sleep more now. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older. But I really value my sleep. I think it's so important for recovery. So now if I'm training when I'm working, it's either on shift or after shift. So I'm not going before work.
It's all about managing load on your central nervous system, isn't it? So when we look at, a 12-hour day for a firefighter, whether you're involved in operational incidents or not, cognitively and physically, there's still a lot to do. So, when you really do think about training at your optimum, it's probably smart to avoid training. I don't train on days. Actually, that's a lie. I will go in the gym during the day for the normal gym session that we all do in the day. But that'll be a very, very steady state cardio, because also when I used to try and do a specific training session during days, I would be perpetually frustrated when we get interrupted with a call, or I'm a bit tight on time, or there's a phone call and they need to speak to me about something, and it's just constantly interrupted. Someone knocks on the door for something, and then I end up coming away feeling like it was a bit of a rubbish session anyway. And then I beat myself over the head and either redo it again later in the week, which again, just it doesn't make sense. But I've always historically struggled with taking days off or having rest days at all. So, now that I've started to transition towards more cardio-based sort of lactic threshold training, it lends itself to doing shorter sprint work, 2 or 3 minutes at a certain pace, then 2 minutes rest. So whether I'm getting 6 rounds of that in or 4 rounds, they're still beneficial in isolation. So even if I only get two or three rounds and I'm only doing 15 minutes, it's more about the intensity rather than before when I thought like I need a good hour and a half to do a gym session. It doesn't realistically have to take that long now.
Yeah, I do at least one threshold session a week, and that's normally my running at the minute because High Rocks is a running event. So I'll do 3 to 5 minutes if I can at a threshold, and then 2 to 3 minutes recovery. Then I'll go again. So I think that's helped. I definitely feel like I'm getting fitter. I can always tell if my resting heart rate comes down, which is great. So that's always a sign.
What do you use for your heart rate? Do you use a Whoop strap or?
No, I've just my Garmin, and I've been using my heart rate monitor from MyZone, which is great.
Yeah,
So
I'm still using that now. That's a really good indicator for zone training because your perceived rate of exertion versus what the data is actually telling you, I find really useful.
yes, yeah. Sometimes though, I've noticed when I'm tired or it's near my menstrual cycle, my heart rate's higher, or if I'm
Hmm.
a bit run down. So I've got to take that in consideration as well. But when I'm training, if I wake up and my resting heart rate's quite high, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I'm coming down with something, so I might not push myself too hard that day. That's how I know when I'm not feeling right, going off my heart rate.
I've got to invest in a Garmin. You
Oh,
can
they're
probably
great.
get some relatively cheap second-hand ones now because I've tried Whoop straps and stuff in the past, but you have to charge them. Do you know what I mean? It is a ball ache, and I think Garmin's some of them last for like a week or something. How often do
Yeah,
you charge it
no,
up?
it lasts about a week. It's great. I don't have to
How long
charge
does it
it
take to
all the time.
charge it?
But it's very quick, like an hour, less than an hour actually, about 30 minutes since fully charged.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to put one on more Christmas list. It's going on the Christmas list. I've got to
Yeah.
commit to it because the thing with the MyZone is it's great for specific training work, but then if I forget to put it on, and sometimes what I don't get is the benefit from sleeping in it as well and seeing what my resting heart rate is because you really need to wear it consistently to get a good measure. What's your resting heart rate at the minute, do you think, or what have you seen it
It
at?
goes down to like 42, about 42.
Wow, I'd
Yeah.
be interested to see what mine is. To be fair. We spoke a little bit around where you take any tips from or like where you get your inspiration from. So I wanted to start with kind of any social media accounts or any websites, whether it's for general approach to life, whether it's for fitness, whether it's for mindset. Are there any places that you draw particular inspiration or sort of insight from? This episode is brought to you in partnership with MSA Safety. Today we have them to thank for the improved firefighter safety through connectivity in their brand new connected firefighter system. At the center of the connected firefighter platform is the MSA M1 SCBA with telemetry. That integrates straight in with the Luna system, which is a wireless all-in-one device creating an independent search and rescue network, providing edge detection, enhanced personal thermal imaging, while simplifying post-scene reporting and data retention. All of this then plugs into the FireGrid system for cloud-based connectivity, real-time information, and data-driven decisions for the incident commander. MSA are truly taking massive strides in the future of improved firefighter safety through connectivity in the brand new MSA Connected Firefighter platform. Now back to the show.
Yes, I like to listen to podcasts. I don't get any inspiration or motivation from social media at all. I'm having a bit of a detox at the minute. I deactivated my Facebook
Good.
account. And I'm only really going on the app just to post, just trying to, it's not good for my mindset. I've noticed it's not. And sometimes I spend so much time on social media, just mainly looking at cute dog videos because that seems to come up on my feed all the time because obviously the algorithm's picked up that I love dogs. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, God, half an hour's passed and I've done nothing. So I had a bit of a detox from social media.
The irony is, it is created like a game, isn't it? But I think to myself, like when I was a kid, or for anybody that still plays games now, if you actually did see it as a game, like you go on a game and you ideally enjoy it, and then you achieve a couple of levels, or I don't know what, and then you come off it and go, I really enjoyed that. Or if you were on for 8 hours, you're like, oh, Jesus, that was a bit much. But social media is designed like a game because, like the refresh feed, the way you scroll down it, the likes, all of the dopamine hits that you get from it. But if you saw it as a game and said, "Oh, I've just spent half an hour playing this game. How do I feel after playing the game?" And often it does leave you with either a sense of emptiness, or it can lead you with a sense of FOMO. You really have to try and cultivate it to be something positive in your life. And I bet it's a very low percentage of people that could actually say it's a positive influence on them.
Yeah, but it's definitely not a positive influence on me. I just find it's quite draining sometimes. And
Hmm.
I deactivated the Instagram app. Obviously, I'll go on it when I need to go on it, but I just find that I've just got peace of mind not going. I feel
Yeah.
like I was just going on it to check it just for no reason. I'm like, what am I doing here?
'Cause
So
it's
I
there.
listen to
Yeah.
podcasts, and I really like Dr. Rhonda Patrick. She's a really good. She's a
She's great.
doctor of bio. I think it's bioscience,
Hmm.
biomedical scientist or something. She
Hmm.
talks a lot about health, nutrition, and fitness,
Hmm.
which is really interesting, very knowledgeable.
Hmm.
Andrew Huberman, he does a lot of
Yeah.
podcasts on health and fitness and stuff. He has some really interesting guests on, so I like to listen to him. If
This
ever
can be
needed,
there's a lot of great takeaways from his. Some of them can be very,
yeah,
very technical, which is not a bad thing. But like I've found some of them I have to listen to twice. They can get really deep into some of
oh,
the research.
100%. Yes, there's a couple I've listened to twice. Then I pick up something different every time I listen to it. So yeah,
Yeah.
literally, I'm taking notes. Yeah.
So we've got Rhonda Patrick, we've got Andrew Huberman. Is there
But
any others particularly?
Um, if I ever need any, like I feel like I've got inner drive. If I need, if I want to go out for a run, I feel like I can just go out for a run. I don't need to watch anything to get motivation. But if I'm really struggling, if it's cold outside, it's raining, I'll stick on a David Goggins motivational video, and I'm soon got my trainers on, running out the door after listening to him shouting at me for 5 minutes. So it's quite
It
inspiring. Yeah.
works.
It works for me anyway. It might not work for everyone.
No, have you read any? Have you listened to any of his books or read any of his books?
Yes, both of them. Yeah,
Yeah,
downloaded both of them.
his
In
books
order.
are great. They're done in like a podcast style, aren't they? Because at the end of
Yes.
every chapter,
Yep.
he's got the guy that's reading it for him and that's written both of them, and then he
And
kind
we have
of
discussed
segues into a 10 or 15 minute conversation at the end of each show, which I think is a really, really fantastic way of doing it. And it's so nice to hear
100%.
his voice on there as well. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, if anybody's not gone and seen them, I think it'd be a great one. It is beyond a privilege to be able to bring the Firefighters podcast to you, and we are so grateful for every single person that supports, listens, shares, and follows our journey. But here's the honest truth. It takes a colossal amount of time, resources, the team, and work to keep the podcast going. And to help us keep doing it, create more, reach more guests internationally, improve the visuals, and make the podcast sustainable, we're asking for you to help. And to do this, we've set up a Patreon page. Now, by joining this, you'll not only support the future of the podcast, but also gain access to exclusive benefits. Now, if you've ever wanted to meet a member of the podcast, buy us a beer, buy us a coffee, and you think anything you've ever listened to on the podcast has been worth £3, that's basically what we're asking you for. By joining our Patreon community, you will get access to every single full episode archive we have ever made. Now, hundreds and hundreds of key documents that we've got in there on fire behavior, firefighter health, cancer risks, incident debriefs, and so much more. A growing collection of valuable resources to help you learn and grow. Now, I've only ever featured 200 episodes of the podcast on every free public available platform. You won't find the entire library because it is inside our Patreon. That is the full library legacy, and that is what you're joining for as well. So by joining the Patreon for just £3, you'll unlock everything we've ever created alongside discounts on merch like our coins, our hoodies, our patches, our tallies, and all the other stuff we're trying to crack on with doing on the podcast. Your support in whatever way, dropping it in the WhatsApp group, sharing it on the local newsletter, whatever it is, it's incredibly valuable, and we really do support it, and we need it to make it a long-lasting resource, that legacy resource we always talk about for first responders, firefighters, and everybody everywhere who's ever been interested in joining the fire service or who absolutely loves the job. Now, if you're already supporting something, as many people do, it's totally cool. You can still access the podcast for free, and you'll always be able to access all the new episodes for free. But we're asking for your help to make this sustainable. You can still listen, you can still join, you can still share it with the community. And if you want to do something free, follow us on our YouTube, subscribe to it, rate us on Spotify, whatever platform you listen to. We've reached nearly 1 million people with the podcast so far, which is just ridiculous. And we want to keep growing, we want to keep sharing the insights, and we want to keep showcasing the incredible work happening in our community and our sector every single day. So if you feel like you want to join the Patreon crew and help us make this possible, head to patreon.com/TFFPC or check the link in any episode podcast notes. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting us. We'll see you on the other side. We spoke a little bit during our last conversation, and we've had a lot of private conversations around sort of the cost of success, the cost of getting better at something, and how we deal with sometimes the loudest ones are the people that are actually not encouraging you. Like, your encouragement tends to come from short, reassuring messages from a close friend or something like that. But the downside of getting really good at something is some people don't want to see. Some people want to see you do well, but they don't want to see you do better than they are. Do
Oh,
you know what I mean?
100%, yeah.
So, how do you cope with the haters?
How do I cope with that? I
Yeah.
think what's helped me cope with it is just staying off social media, 100%. And I don't understand it because I look at other people that are doing amazing, like May Timber, and I think, wow, she is so inspiring. Like
Mm-hmm.
such a humble, lovely lady. And I think, if anything, I want to be like her. You know, she's
Mm-hmm.
44, I believe, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
40. So I always think, God, she's still doing it, and I can do it. You know, she's just a great role model for all females in the fire service and males as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I just hope that I do that to other people. I inspire people to do better and to be better.
Definitely.
And if people are jealous or, don't want to see me do well, it's their own issue, I guess, unfortunately. And if they don't like me, I take it because they don't know me, because I'm not a bad person.
No.
I believe in treating people how you want to be treated and always being kind. And I always try and stay humble and grounded. That's probably why I don't always like to post loads on social
I
media,
know.
because I don't want to think I don't want people to think I'm full of myself. So yeah, I try and just stay humble, and I'm just so grateful for what my body can do.
It is a very fine line to walk, isn't it? And I know you mentioned before we came on, like you'll never meet a hater that's doing better than you usually. And when people talk about throwing
100%.
stones, they sort of even just the physical analogy of it. People throw stones up. People aren't throwing stones down. So it's usually because someone is pushing themselves more, or they're being more vulnerable, or they're willing to put themselves out there and have a go. That's when people start throwing the stones, unfortunately. And I think it's usually a deeply rooted personal regret that they're not doing it, and they probably are capable of it, but they just don't
Mm,
want to face into sometimes the time, the resiliency, just the ongoing drudgery of slow success,
mhm.
which is ultimately what it comes
Yeah.
for most people that, like yourself, have achieved a sustained period of success. It's not luck. Do you know what I mean? It's taken a very, very long time for you to get to this point, and now you're
Hmm.
really entering that sweet spot. Certainly in the age group that you're entering into now. We spoke about well, we had loads of conversations when we were over in Saudi, and when you were growing up, you learned that you were quite good at sport. How early on did you start realizing that this is something that you take a lot of fulfillment from, and that perhaps you could be quite good at?
So I was about 11. I started a new primary school, and I remember this girl approached me. She was like, "Oh, you're tall. You look like you could be good at sports. Why don't you come to our athletics club every Tuesday?" I was like, "Okay." So along I went, and turned out I was good at running. And that year, last year of primary school it was, I broke the record for the 800 meters. And then went on to high school and broke more records for 800, 200, 100 meters. And everyone just knew me as the runner.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I used to train twice a week at the Blackpool. I'm from Blackpool, at the sports club, Stanley Park. I was there every Tuesday and Thursday. I had a running coach, and I really enjoyed it. And then I got to an age, um, probably just before leaving high school. None of my friends were interested in running. I was doing it all on my own. I was going up on my own. I was actually rollerblading there and back when I used to have a pair of rollerblades. Unfortunately, I didn't have the family there to support me. My
Mm.
mum is suffered really badly, as we spoke about earlier, of mental health issues all my life, and I've never had a father figure. So I had lack of support. So I gave it up. And I remember my mum told me, she said, "Oh, you know that your coach said to me, if you carried on going the way you were going, you would have ended up in the Olympics." I was like, "Really?" And I didn't know, because I didn't realize how good I was.
Yeah.
Um, from then on, I couldn't watch the Olympics. I was devastated. And it wasn't until I was probably in my 20s when I got back into sport. I started going
Yeah.
to the gym now and then, but just, a bit of training here and there. Never entered into any events until probably the firefighter challenges. I might have done I did the odd 5 and 10K races when I was living in the Middle East. Um, but never really trained super hard for anything specific, just did a bit of everything.
Hmm.
And I think I am blessed with good genes.
Hmm.
I'm half, my dad's from Africa. I'm thinking it's my African genes that I'm blessed with.
There is
um,
always an element to your genetic code as well. but that kind of only gets you to the start line. I don't think that takes away from the amount of effort that people have to put into it. The genetic spectrum is far and wide and all that sort of stuff. But I also think the greatest sprinters or the strongest people, or even probably the best people to ever compete in firefighter challenges, have probably never done it and perhaps never will. They've probably got the best genetic disposition for it, but it's whether or not they've got that sort of unique cocktail of brave enough, bold enough, they learn about it at the right time in their life, they have an opportunity and they're part of a service and an organization and have people around them who encourage them. There is a bit of a cocktail that needs to get in place. So there is an element of genetics to it 100%, but I also think that if people use that reason of genetics too much, it can discourage them from even starting.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Well, look at you and Matt, and you and Matt are just such strong, powerful guys. And
Yeah, we're naturally just a bit broader, so it is because like Zach Blackledge, but I think he's far fitter than me or Matt. Certainly in many general metrics that you would measure in a
oh,
laboratory,
yeah,
he's
super fit, yeah.
he's significantly fitter than us. But has never managed to beat us in any of those specific competitions. Just because I think sometimes the way the course is set up, the element of the stairs, the whole, all of it does
Shells
lend
being
itself.
taught.
Yeah, I think there's a big advantage to that. But then you get people like you flying in the face of that because you're not tremendously tall.
Oh, well, I'm 5'10", so compared to other females I am.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's probably a fair
You know,
point. I'd
I've got
say
super long legs.
you're just I don't know, from a fire service perspective, would I say you're an average height? Yeah, you probably are for a female. I don't
Yeah.
know I don't know what the average height is, but there are taller females than you out there that don't seem to get the results that you do get. So there's probably a blend somewhere in between. What do you think it was that was in your 20s that made you re-engage with sport? You obviously, like we said, you had the genetics for it, but you felt like it had maybe been snatched away from you a little bit, and then you kind of turned your back on it. For people that, and many people will be able to relate to being engaged in sport when they were younger, what do you think it was about that age or that environment or just where you'd gotten to in your mindset that gave you the curiosity to start doing it again?
I think I just saw it as a bit of a hobby, a new hobby. I thought, all right, I might just join the local gym. I was living in a new area at the time in Newcastle, and I think it was my friend that she was going on a daily basis. She said, "Oh, why don't you join me?" So I was like, "All right." So I just signed back up to the gym and started, doing a bit of this, bit of that. Didn't really know what I was doing. Bit of running, a little bit of strength training. Had an induction by the PT, and I just got back into it, and I enjoyed it. I was like, "Oh, I like this." And I saw the results pretty quick. I started slimming down, and I was getting fitter, so I kept it up. And then when I went to the Middle East, um, again, a couple of my friends were runners.
Hmm.
So we did a few like 5Ks, 10Ks. We used to go to the Formula One track and run around that. You can run and cycle around it. So I'd run around it and I'd
No
cycle around
way.
it. And yeah, I think when I was a flight attendant as well, I had to stay fit. It was really important because we're jet lagged a lot of times. So being fit helps you get through the jet lag.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just kept up and I enjoyed it. It made me feel good.
There is a big element for doing it even just solely for your own mental well-being, isn't there? Because I always think when we talk about trauma or we talk about mental health at work, it was we had a guest on from something called the Resiliency Agenda, and he terms it mental fitness rather than mental health or mental well-being. And I get for some people that has like an elitist connotation that maybe you need to be engaged in fitness, otherwise you won't get a good mental well-being. But I also think you can't separate the mental from the physical. So, they kind of all come as one package. And you're like a walking drug factory. There's lots of free drugs that your body can dispense. Dopamine, cortisol, serotonin, endorphins, norepinephrine, all this sort of stuff. If you just engage in the right activities, put yourself in the right headspace, whether that be yoga, going on a walk with your dog, doing physical exercise, doing a group class around other people. There is ways to so obviously exercise is a simple one, but like you do have your own approaches for rest and recovery. Like if I had to try and keep us in that analogy, what are some of the things that you do to dispense the healthy drugs from within yourself?
Yeah, you know that I enjoy hiking a lot and getting out there amongst the hills. So I've been doing that, well, mainly in the summer, autumn, but now it's getting into winter. I've not been going as much. I've been staying quite local. There's a place called Rivington Pike. It's beautiful. It's scenic. I've been going out there, just getting out for a walk and fresh air. It makes me feel so much better. I also just love just going into the sauna and steam. You know, if
Mm.
I'm tired, I don't want to train, I just want to relax.
Yeah.
So go for a jacuzzi, sauna, steam, and I always feel so good after being in there. And also obviously yoga. I love yoga. I go to yoga class at the gym, and I also do my own yoga at home. And that's just like kind of switch off, just focus on stretching, breathing, relaxing, and I always feel really good after yoga as well.
Mm. How many times a week do you reckon you're saunaing or yoga in?
Saunaing, I'd say 3 times a week.
Wow.
Yoga, I do a little bit of stretching every day. Every
Mm.
day. Obviously it depends on time, but I always make sure I do stretch every single day. I think it's
Mm.
important now. I just get so tight.
Get a massive tightness in my lower back, and I've realized that is actually issues with my quads and my psoas and it's manifesting in my lower back, but it's not actually like if you just look for lower back stretches, it's never helped me, even though I do lots of lower back stretches and pigeon stretches and all that sort of stuff. It's not actually glute or lower back related. I think it's all quad and psoas.
Probably our hamstrings. Yeah,
Yeah.
hamstrings. Really tight hamstrings can cause your back to be really tight.
Mm.
Mainly my hips,
Mhm.
and when I was doing specific training for the firefight challenge, geez, I found like my middle back was really tight, and I think it was from the dummy drags. So just stretching that
Mhm.
and getting a massage. I was getting a sports massage as well every week,
It's
just to
hard to
focus
find a
on my
good
back.
hard to find a good masseuse, I always think. I mean, maybe slightly
Yeah.
easier. It sounds harsh. It's hard for everybody, but like for somebody like me or Matt or big lumps of meat, sometimes you do need someone who's got a little bit behind them. It's not all about crushing their elbow into you until you cry, but they've
Mhm.
got to be strong enough. Sometimes I go and I just feel like I've had a little tickle, and it's been
Yeah.
relaxing. But I'm like, no, I'd really like.
Yeah.
I need a sports massage. I need help. I actually need help.
Really
This is
deep
not
tissue.
just
Yeah.
about relax. But yeah, again, that can be. How much do you think you pay for massages on a regular basis?
Well, I'm lucky. I've got a young lad that lives around the corner, and he's just passed his physiotherapy degree or whatever, and he says he can do it for cheap for now until he's more established. So I'm only paying £30 for an hour.
It's perfect. And for him,
Yeah,
that's a great side hustle, especially if you can build a little stable of
and
clients
he's really
within his
good.
local
He's
area.
really
Yeah,
good.
yeah, absolutely. If you find somebody good, it's well worth
Yeah.
investing in them early. And like you
Mhm.
say, it's well worth it over time. I think so few of us invest in our bodies as much as we should. And I have this sometimes. Like I pay for 2 gym memberships. I take creatine. I take this lactate threshold. I take a hydration supplement. I
Mhm.
stretch on a regular basis. I actually had some. What's the needlework therapy? I had that for the first time the other day. In my wrist.
Acupuncture.
Acupuncture. Yeah, that was
How was
weird.
that? Was
It
it
was
good?
weird. So I've had a tightness in my left wrist for a little while
Mhm.
now, and it came after I was trying to get a lot better at pull-ups, and
Right.
it was just locking up, and like I couldn't grip a bar, I couldn't deadlift, and then it started bothering me when I was rowing. So I was like, I've got to get this sorted out. And they diagnosed it as sort of a bit of tennis elbow or golfer's elbow. And I
Mhm.
just had to do a load of negative reps, like wrist curls, like pulling it up with both hands and then just doing a progressive load down on it. But I found having the acupuncture for the first time I'd ever had it was actually super useful. And I'd never even had it before. So it's something I think I'm
Wow.
probably going to do again. But I was always
Mhm.
unsure of how effective it was. And obviously, I've got a bit of a bad history of sticking needles in myself. So I wasn't massively excited about entering into something like that. I'm not sure how my mind would have reacted to it, but it didn't trigger
Mhm.
any, you know,
Oh,
desire
good.
to stick more needles in myself, which was good. It was genuinely something I was a little bit worried about, which sounds very silly to people who perhaps haven't had that sort of challenge in their life before. You had a little break from training recently.
Oh, yeah, I needed it after Denmark. So I think I spoke to you about this before. These challenges take a lot out of me, not just physically, but emotionally as
Mhm.
well. I just put so much pressure on myself. And during these events, the adrenaline that's running through my body and the nerves, the pre-race nerves are unreal. I am so nervous that I can't even focus. And I remember Al said to me in Denmark, he said, Helena, we need to work on your pre-race nerves because it takes away the enjoyment of the actual event because I'm just
Mhm.
so nervous. And after the British Firefighter Challenge, I was run down for a good week to 10 days. I think it's like the pre-race nerves that really get to me. I'm so nervous, and the pressure that I put on myself, and then all the adrenaline's pumping from my body. And it just takes the enjoyment out of the event. So I was run down after the British Firefighter Challenge, and then I was asked if I wanted to go to Denmark. And I didn't feel ready for Denmark. I thought, wow, the TFA, the Toughest Firefighter Alive, is on another level to the British Firefighter Challenge. And I thought, I don't feel ready. However, I could not turn down this opportunity. So, of course, I said yes. But I couldn't train as hard as I'd like. So I was feeling a bit run down from the British. And I only had, about a month to 6 weeks to train for it, because it was in September and the British Firefighter Challenge was at the end of July. So I did what I can training wise. And even after Denmark, I was run down again. I think, like I say, it takes a lot out of me, physically and emotionally. And like I say, the pressure that I put on myself, it just drains me. So yeah, I took 2 months off out the gym, and I was just going on walks. And then when I did start to feel like training again, I was just going on runs, just started running again. Just doing steady runs, just getting out in nature, just enjoying it, because I kind of lost my mojo for the gym. I was just fed up. I'd gone a couple of times, attempted to do a session, and I was like, I don't want to be here. And I just left. And I felt a bit sad. I was like, what's wrong with me? And I think it's because I've been training so hard for a specific event, and then it's gone. I was like, well, what have I got to train for now? Obviously, I had high rocks, but I just, I'm doing a mixed double, so I'm like, there's 2 of us doing it, so we'll share the load anyway. So yeah, I lost my mojo, but it is coming back. It's coming back now. I'm still not training as hard as I was before the British Firefighter Challenge, but it's starting to come back. So
I think it's important to recognise that you've got to have those ebbs and flows as well, because there's like that performance curve, isn't there, where you get a stimulation, and too much stimulation ongoing. That's why, like for Olympians and stuff, they train in the 4-year blocks, and some of those training cycles, when I was much younger, I used to train at Loughborough University, and it was really interesting to see some of those athletes when they're out of competition season, and also during their deload phase running up to a specific competition. It was really surreal to see how little training they did. But it seems surreal in the moment, but actually when you zoom out, it shouldn't be that surprising, because when you go to the gym, you go there and you come back, there's actually no difference at all. You've put one tiny layer of paint onto an ongoing cycle of development. But when you've done it once, you can't see the difference. So actually missing 1 week or 2 weeks or even 2 months, in the grand scheme of things, when you stretch that time horizon, it's probably a massive net benefit. And I think I've had some of my biggest injuries and stuff from not recognizing that and listening to that in my body. And I also say to people when they're trying to get into a fitness habit or a health and well-being habit of some form, don't over-index it too quick, because you'll end up with a negative behavioral cycle where you come away feeling bad about it. Like the worst thing, I think the mistake a lot of personal trainers make is they design a sort of set routine for a client that's very similar to theirs, and it's just way too much. It's way too much for someone so early on in their fitness journey, and it can make them just feel like a failure, and it perpetuates that feeling they already had, that they're unfit, they're rubbish. I've tried to do the thing, but it was just so goddamn hard, and I was stiff for like weeks, and then I was being called in to do another session in 2 days' time. And I had to start keeping secrets from the trainer, because this was actually really hurting. But I also thought like, it's supposed to hurt because I'm supposed to train hard and I know it's supposed to hurt. But it's recognizing what is, a healthy, DOMS or something like that, and what is, I'm overtraining now. And actually the smart thing to do is prioritize my rest and recovery. The team here at the podcast are extremely excited to announce our brand new partnership with Patrol Store UK. Patrol Store have been serving the UK's police, fire and emergency communities and first responder sector since 2008, providing leading brands such as Hikes, Magnum, 511, Nebo, Op Zulu, Highlander, AKU and many, many more of our favourites. They are now also supplying bespoke uniform, PPE and station workwear to fire services around the UK. So for all our listeners that are part of your USAR, your HEART team, your ISAR team, your armed response teams, your fire investigation, your NALO, your hazmat and all of the training departments that have got your own budgets, be sure to get the absolute best for your team at a realistic price by contacting Aaron and the team at Patrol Store and referencing the Firefighters podcast. Patrol Store will also be taking part in our listener competition giveaways, as well as providing unique discounts to podcast listeners. So for people that are always asking about hikes boots as an example, that is one unique discount code that is coming to you very soon through Patrol Store. We've also got some incredible bags. I mean, the Opzulu bags are a game changer. So you know the really Gucci and expensive tactical black bags that everyone's using in CrossFit workouts and taking to the gym and taking to stations? Well, they've basically got that, but it's made better and costs less, because they're not slapping some Gucci expensive brand name on it and it's giving you what you want on a first responder salary. Be sure to keep your eyes in the notes of the episodes for links to unique offers and discount codes. And if you're looking to buy well and buy once, be sure to get in the notes and head over to Patrol Store UK. Now back to the show.
I think for me, it was just I needed a mental break from training. Definitely. I did get a couple of slight, not injuries, got a bit of a shoulder impingement at the minute and a bit of a strain in my forearm. I'm hoping it's not golfer's elbow. I hit 40 and I get these niggles, and I'm not used to having any niggles. So yeah, I guess that kind of put me off going to the gym as well. 'Cause I knew I overdid it a little bit before Denmark. I did a training session in the gym. It was the run up to my TFA, Toughest Firefighter Alive challenge, and because I hadn't trained as hard as I'd like to, because I was run down after the British Firefighter Challenge, I was feeling good. I was having a great time in Aalborg. The gym was phenomenal, pure gym, but it was amazing. And I just went a bit too hard in the gym. I was doing rope climbs, just using my arms, thinking, this is great. I was doing sled pull, sled push, farmers carries. And then the day after, my hands were so like sore. It's like I had DOMs in my hands. I've never had that before. And then I remember my friend said to me, Helene, you're going to regret doing that. You've got the Toughest Firefighter Alive challenge in a couple of days. And yeah, I paid for it.
I thought about that when we were out in
Definitely.
Saudi as well. Like some people were really still getting after it in the gym, and a couple of the people that went with us were going to a local CrossFit box and they were doing some massive deadlifts and some massive bench pressing, and and I was just like, what are you doing? Like you've got all of this, jet lag. You're in a different place. You're eating different food. You're sleeping in a different bed, and yeah, I felt like a bit of a coward at times, because I was like, I would really like to go and share in that experience with them, but I was like, I know what my ego's like. I'll start picking up things I shouldn't be picking up, and my body is held together with optimism and niggles. I think we're not full of springs and elastic and magic like we were in our 20s. But that's one thing I took really away from my
Exactly.
conversation with Alan as well, is he's very, very disciplined in his rest and recovery. And like he says a lot, and I know Dean Keeber can certainly relate to this, the ability to just show up on the day with no injuries is a massive advantage, because it's a fine balance, isn't it, between
100%.
doing enough in your head pre-comp, but then actually turning up without any injuries. Aside from the absence of a mental fear as well, like the fear of, if I break into a sprint now, is my hamstring going to hold together? When I go to leap over that wall, is my pec going to tear again? There's a real reluctance that can come with that fear of injury, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. Some people can go and do a really hard training session, if they're young and they bounce back. But I guess as I get older, I need to be a bit more, train smart really, and think about, what's coming up. Because when I was in Saudi, I didn't really do any crazy training before the Toughest Firefighter Alive. But when I did do the Toughest Firefighter Alive, I found it super hard. It was like it was a shock to my body. Obviously, it was really hard. But the one in Denmark was even more challenging. The dummy was heavier. The distance to drag the dummy was longer. The hose drag was longer. There was 2 barrels we had to carry through the tunnel instead of one that was in Saudi. We had 2 ladders to pitch. They were like long and they were made of wood and they were super heavy. The hose hull was heavier, and then there was 15 flights of stairs and not 10. So every stage was harder in Denmark, and that's why it's called the Toughest Firefighter Alive. He said, who was it?
Yeah.
John, the organizer.
For people that
So,
are
yeah, it was
unfamiliar
quite harder.
with the Denmark adventure, like give us a little talk through what the achievements were there, sort of people that you met. Obviously, you've given us a talk through the TFA there, but what were your sort of memories and takeaways from it?
Oh, that was absolutely incredible. What an experience. Because obviously I traveled alone, but when I got there, I did not feel alone at all. I was met by so many familiar faces that I met in Saudi Arabia. The Saudi Arabian team welcomed me into their family. You know, I went training with them. We did yoga together, went out for dinner. Then obviously I met up with Al and Wendy. What a lovely couple. What a genuine, you know, just such a lovely couple they are. And I also met up with Alan, sorry, not Alan,
Yeah.
Rob Green from down south, and we spent a lot of time together. And it was just an incredible experience. I met so many different people from other countries, Australia, Estonia, Czech Republic. I met some new Brits from
Hmm.
Humberside. They were lovely. Um, it was amazing just to watch Al just smash out the athletics. He did incredible. I think he got like, I don't know how many gold medals did he tell you?
Ridiculous
Like
amount.
seven? I've lost count. He got, oh, it just shows you, it doesn't matter what age you are, you
Yeah.
can still smash it. And he's such an
He talks
inspiration.
a lot about this pension fitness. He talks about this fitness pension plan, which he was talking to me about, and I just thought it was a really nice analogy. I need to sit and think about that more because he's constantly
Mhm.
preparing both for the later stages of his life. But he talks now at 60 years of age of, people he sees, competing in Olympic Games or in other competitions where they're in their 80s. And it's great to see that even at his age, in his
Wow.
60s, he's still got idols that he looks up to. And that's where his goal is he's still looking 20 years ahead.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. It was great to see May Timber absolutely
Yeah.
smash it again. She got another PB. She's like I say, she's such an inspiration. She won it. She won
Mm.
overall female, and obviously her age category. But yeah, what a woman.
What was your performance like? You said it was really hard. How did you do?
So yes, TFA I come first in my age category, which I'm really pleased about. And I got a penalty for I didn't make it over the
Really?
wall. Yeah, I know, and I can get over the wall because I managed to get over it during training. But I think that training session in the gym, the run up to the event, really did it for me. I just used so much of my grip strength, and I had DOMs in my hands, and it's a learning
Yeah.
curve for next time. I
Mm.
know not to do that. Also, when I gripped the dummy, it was 80 kilos and we were walking for 70 meters. I gripped onto his belt, where normally, because it was the
Mhm.
rescue Randy, he was quite wide, but I was struggling to get my hands right around him. I could have if I really tried, but I thought, oh, I'll just grip his belt because it's easier. However, because I was gripping his belt, I used a lot of my hand grip, and my strength.
Mm.
So by the time I got to the wall, I was just struggling. And I almost got over it. I was so close. And everyone was like, yay! And then I just fell back down again. And I was like, oh.
Oh,
But the referee was like, keep going, you've got plenty of time. Because it was a 6 minute cut
yeah.
off. But I thought, I'm using all my energy here trying to get over this wall. I just wanted to give up. But he was like, no, keep going, keep going. So I kept going, using more of my energy. I was absolutely exhausted. And then stage three is a lot of grip. You've got hitch to
Yeah.
ladders, you've got to carry these 20 kilo kettlebells up to the second floor, haul up a 30 kilo hose. My technique went out the window. I was just getting it up any old way. bring the kettlebells back down, and that was stage three. And then stage four was final stage was the 15 flights of stairs,
Yeah.
which was fine. I think the stairs is my strength, and I need to focus more on maybe my more upper body and training
Mhm.
smart. Really, it's my own fault.
Even though you didn't manage to get over the wall, you still managed to take first in your age category. So there is still
Yes,
is, like when
yes,
people, and I say that as inspiration to other people as well, because they're seeing you and going, oh, she must be doing everything perfect. And, there's no way I can ever get to that. And your own admittance, you're like, well, I still didn't go over the wall. So there's loads of opportunity and there's loads of room for progress for yourself and for lots of other athletes. So, people should take that there's this, the field is still open for people to come and get involved and challenge themselves, because even for yourself, there's loads of takeaways and loads of like marginal gains that you want to hunt after.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Like I was saying, you never fail till you stop trying. That was a massive learning curve for me. So I know what I need to focus on next time. I know where I went wrong, and I'm hoping to do the TFA again in Germany I think it's in
Mhm.
June, because I feel like I can do much better. Definitely.
I wanted to ask you about kit. We've got kit, we've got food, we've got clothing, we've got a few of the bits that we want to sort of address. Any preferences on kit, things that you've found to be useful? Obviously, you've got the support of Rosenbauer with your own kit as well. Is there any specific like little tips and tricks you maybe have for that?
Kit, obviously I wear the Rosenbauer kit and it's great. It's flexible, it's durable, it's really good quality. I wear the Fireflex suit. The boots, I love the boots. I know a lot of people wear the Hikes ones, but I really love the Rosenbauer. It's the Borough B3 cross boots, very comfortable. They've got Michelin sole, the quality is fantastic. I've been training in them like over a year now, and the quality is just perfect. There's no, just really good. They're just made really well. And then I've got the
Mm-hmm.
Heroes Titan helmet, which is it's quite light. So
Mm-hmm.
I really love the kit. I love training in it. And it looks good as well. I got a lot of compliments when I was in Denmark on how good my kit looks. It's got my name on it, they personalised it for me. Rosenbauer are fantastic. Like I say, they support me all the time. And they've asked me if I wanted to go to the factory in Vienna. So I'm hoping to take a trip out there, which I'm really looking forward to, next year. So, the team down there are just phenomenal. They're just really supportive, and I really appreciate that. And I'm so grateful I've got them behind me.
From a kit perspective, when it comes to training, you put a little note in our notes about a sled.
Oh yeah, I do a lot of sled push, and I'm doing more of that now. Obviously for high rocks, and I just really enjoy it because you can go heavy and it doesn't give me DOMs. So I do a lot of sled at the end of my workout on my leg day, and I just try and increase the weight each time. I really enjoy it. A great piece of
I think for the role of a firefighter as well, sled push, pulls, drags, anything like that is got lots and lots of crossover. It's really knuckle dragging sort of grunt work, and I appreciate a lot of gyms don't necessarily have them, but they are becoming more sort of common in a lot of places now. I think a lot of pure gyms have them. They'll have a sled track. Most CrossFit gyms seem to have one now as well, and I think they're a really, really good thing for people to start utilizing in their training. Definitely.
Yeah, and I think because of high rocks as well, a lot of people are getting sleds in because high rocks is so popular. So sled pull, push, and like the high rocks workout is really good for a firefighter. You've got your pull, push, carry, farmer's carry,
Definitely.
great moves. It's
It's
great.
an hour or an hour and a half of grunt work, and it's it's functional. There's all of the elements into it. It's a lot of lift and carry. It's great. I think it's a really good template. There's another one called. Have you heard of the Dirty Dozen?
No, I haven't. No, what's that?
Oh, I'll try and send you something after this. I've got a document that they sent me. It's a competition that I'm going to do next year, and it's done on. They've been doing it for years, and they do them all over the world. It's not as obviously as big and well funded as the high rock stuff, but it's around a 400-meter track, and then you do a lot of kettlebell stuff. You do some sled stuff. There's burpee. There's a great deal of crossovers. With similar to high rocks. But it's called Dirty Dozen. I think Jason is the guy that runs it. And that's certainly something I'm going to try and put in my wheelhouse for next year. Again, slightly less running than the high rocks, but there's higher volumes of reps with some of the other stuff. So, and he did say that to me. He's like, well, don't sort of go into it with the premise that it's going to be easier than high rocks. It's just different. He says, because the reps are a lot higher. There's like 100 of this and 100 of that, and there's various movements every time you go around the track, but it is only a 400-meter track, which I feel like is a good distance. It's more relevant to our role sort of as first responders, because I feel like a kilometer is actually a bloody long way to go. Whereas 400 meters it just feels like it's more in that functional
More
fitness
manageable.
hybrid-y world. So I think that's also maybe in June next year. I'll send you some detail about it though, because I like finding these stuff. Because with respect to high rocks, I really love them and I plan to do some more, but they're expensive as well. They're getting very popular and very expensive. So
I thought doing the mixed doubles it might be half the price, but it's still over £100 do the doubles.
Yeah, I know. So I think next time I do it, I'll definitely do an individuals. Not that I absolutely loved having the experience with John, but I know we're both slightly different athletes and we have different goals as well. Talk to me about food. Any specifics on food? How do you go about your nutrition, your diet, or when you're on shift, off shift? If you're a regular listener to the podcast, then chances are you are big into your own personal development and the development of firefighters around you. So I wanted to remind you of our mobile app Drill Book. This is a free training and development resources made by firefighters for firefighters. Heading on to Drillbook, you will find incident debriefs, radio messages, knots and lines, quick reference guides, quizzes every single day. We've got useful links to the ERG, to Web Rescue, to JESU, Euro Rescue, 10-second triage, National Operational Guidance, and not to mention our daily quizzes where you will find questions on extrication, casualty handling, breathing apparatus, fire development, water rescue, rope rescue, you name it. It is the go-to resource if you've got a spare 5 minutes on the firehouse to develop yourself and those around you. Not only that, if you're looking to get into the fire service, we've got advice on there on interview questions, interview answers. You can build your own questioning in there. And again, remember, this is built by firefighters for firefighters, so you can add your own drills in there. You can pick the drills that you find the most favorite. There is literally hundreds of training ideas, hundreds of drills in there. Remember, this app is absolutely free and it grows every single day down to the contributions of our thousands and thousands of users. It's freely available on Android, Apple, and you will find it in the links for this podcast. Remember, it's called personal development. The clue's in the name. You've got to work twice as hard on yourself as you do on the job. So always be growing, always be developing. Now let's get back to the show.
So my diet consists of, say in the morning I'll have muesli or porridge with nuts, seeds, peanut butter or almond butter. And then for lunch, I normally have, obviously I mix it up, but I love, especially after training, I have more like a brunch for lunch, and it's like eggs, because they're a good source of protein, with salmon, feta cheese, all scrambled in. And then I'll have sourdough bread and then some greens on top and some olive oil.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so nice after training. And that's kind of like my brunch lunch. And then I'll have in the evenings, I'll sometimes make homemade burgers, and oven chips if I fancy something, a bit of a fake away, or chicken and rice or broccoli if I'm going really super healthy. I don't eat takeaways. I do eat clean most of the time, not all the time. Obviously, when I'm at work, I just eat whatever the watch eats.
Yeah.
So I think last tour we had hot dogs and chips. It wasn't my ideal food, but obviously I'm going to eat. I'm not picky. Yeah, it's nice to eat foods like that now and again. But yeah,
I love the term of a fake away. I've not heard that one before.
Fake away, yeah.
I'm going to steal that one. I like it.
Don't get
Use it with my
takeaways,
daughter.
yeah. So yeah,
do you count protein or anything?
I've increased my protein actually. I don't measure how much I'm intaking or anything like that. I just upped my protein. I've got a nice clean protein that I shake that I have after training. DP90 it's called. It's just really clean. It's got no crap in it, and it's easy to drink. So yeah, I have that after training. I was taking vitamins. I was taking vitamin B12, but I get my bloods done once a year now. It's quite expensive, but I highly recommend. I think it's really important. Your health is your biggest wealth. So I get my bloods done, and they said that my B12 was high, probably because I've increased my protein now. So I've stopped taking B12. I take more iron, especially around my menstrual cycle, and multivitamin. Taking multivitamin every day, and omega-3 and omega oils 3, 6, and 9.
Are you a pre-workout or a caffeine person or a hydration, or do you hit anything specific there?
Caffeine, probably, yeah.
Caffeine? Is that just a straight coffee or?
Yeah, just straight up coffee. I don't have any pre-workout. I've took that in the past, but I found that my heart was really racing. I don't think it wasn't good for me, especially if you're doing cardio. So no, just a coffee. I'm good to go then.
I've significantly downgraded my caffeine intake because I think I'm just one of those that was always typically more is better, and I do find myself getting twitchy and stuff like that, and it can make you a bit anxious during workouts, especially if you are doing a CrossFit or functional style workout. Just that level of stimulation before you've even got started, I've found it to start being a bit of a depreciating asset. But I think every morning I do a hydration of some form. I say I've started doing this X Endurance product, which is purely to do with your lactic threshold. I've found that really, really good. My 30k, 20k, and 10k bike times have come down by 2 or 3 minutes in the last 8 weeks, and I've not changed anything else. I've not changed my sleep. I've not changed my supplements. It's literally and again, I'm not great at the science behind it, but everyone knows what lactic acid is. So when you're getting that hitting the wall feeling when your legs are just on fire and you feel like you're getting the wobbly leg time and you can't walk. Or equally the same for, certainly actually when I'm doing echo bike stuff, I like my ability to go at sort of a 90 cadence for a longer 3-4 minute stretch. And also like my 100 calorie time, I measure how quickly I can do 100 calories on the echo bike. That's dropped by like 40-50 seconds. So I'm really enjoying that.
What's the name of the product?
It's called X Endurance. It's 100% natural. I actually saw it at High Rocks. So they were making a big push through the High Rocks scene. It's originally designed, they work with a few Olympians and Commonwealth athletes and people like that. It was designed for rowers and runners and cyclists who are doing some of the longer workouts so that they're able. It's basically, again, about raising your lactic threshold. So how high can you work in terms of your zone training or in terms of, your cadence or your average, average kilometer time or whatever. Because if you go in a bit too fast, then ultimately you can't sustain it. And people always used to use the talk test. Like if you can keep talking whilst you're doing it, then you can theoretically sustain that for like up to an hour.
Yeah.
But this is just all about pushing that higher and higher so that your body gets much more efficient at getting rid of all the lactic acid. And I said to them specifically when we were on a call recently, because after I'd taken it for about 8 weeks, I sort of reached out to them. Obviously, anything we do with the podcast only comes from a place of authenticity, like Lifelines or X Endurance or Boost or any of the other brands that we work with. It's usually something we've had for a little while, and then we try and be cheeky and ask them if they want to come on and have a talk about it. And then if they give us some free stuff off the back of it, that's great. But when I started talking to them, they said that we're interested in the firefighter challenge space because, like you said about the wall, or everyone will have their own thing, even if it's just the 3 minutes or 6 minutes of the British Firefighter Challenge. People hit that wall. And it's just about how far can you push that. Like for me and for Matt and for you and a few others, we finished the course and we're knackered, but like I've always made it a thing to I don't lie down on the mats. I'm not completely ball-bagged, if you excuse the term, because I like to. Me and John said this about the High Rocks. We said when we get over the line, we've done it all in fire kit with a BA set. We're not going to lie down on the floor and do the I'm knackered thing. We're going to stand up and we're going to be ready to go again if we needed to do something, because that for me should be the analogy of the first responder as well. I know for station officer and higher ranking people, they don't always like to see people in the gym where they finish a session and they're absolutely hanging out their arse, because it's like, well, what if you get a fire call right now?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be training that hard at work, with the greatest respect. So anything I do, I always think to myself, am I ready? I have that tagline, like Semper Paratus. I have it. It's my next tattoo that I'm getting as well, and it's always ready. It's a military term, and I was never in the military, but I still like it because I like Latin and all that sort of stuff. And it's about, are you ready? Can you increase your recovery time? So that's why I got involved. That's why I started looking for something like lactic threshold training, because you can fuel your body before it. Like you can try and take a carb supplement and make sure you get your creatine and all that sort of stuff. But I was like, it's not specifically helping me towards this new goal of a little bit more endurance and all that sort of stuff. So started using theirs, and I put some of it on the socials every now and again when I see an improvement of some form. But they're literally, my 20k time, 20k, so 20k on a bike. No, it's my 10k, isn't it? Yeah, my 10k one was the most recent one I tested about 3 days ago, and it was at 15 minutes. Let me pull it up on my phone because I'll be able to tell you properly then.
Okay.
And we can edit this out. But just for total authenticity, I don't want to say something now and then fucking get it wrong. Yeah, so I did my 10k bike time back at the beginning of October, and it was 14 minutes and 30 seconds. And I went and Googled it, and apparently for my age group, that makes me elite. I'm just blowing smoke up my ass, but I wanted to see where I'm at with that. And then I did it again 2 weeks ago. So that's about a month, about five and a half weeks difference. And it was 13 minutes and 24 seconds. So I'd taken a minute and 6 seconds off it. And over a 10K, I felt like that was a really big, if you take a minute off over a marathon, then you might be like, oh, well, that's not really a massive improvement. But from a 10K time, I thought that was massive.
Yeah.
So, I did a 20K ride time today. I did that before and managed to hold a pace of 1:49 per 1,000 meters. And then today I did it and I held a pace of 1 minute 44 per 1,000 meters. So my 20K was just over 34 minutes.
Oh.
So yeah, that's where I'm kind of working with at the minute, just to have 5 or 6 regular workouts that I can rely on that are cardio based to see any sort of marginal changes. And
is it a powder? Do you put it in a drink? Is it a tablet form?
it's 3 tablets. So you take 3 tablets in the morning and you take 3 tablets in the evening. I've probably got it behind me somewhere actually. Looks like that. It's called X Endurance Lactic Acid Buffer Endurance and Recovery. It's a food supplement, it says. Take them whenever you want, but three in the morning, 3 in the evening.
Do you take it on training days or every day?
Take it every single day, whether you're training or you're resting.
Okay. I'll look into that.
I think it's about achieving that consistency in your blood pH balance of some capacity, because that's where obviously it's your acid alkaline balance in your blood where you're picking up that efficiency, is how quickly can you get rid of that acid. So it seems to be something to do with that. I wouldn't pretend to be super knowledgeable about it. We're going to have one in January anyway. Clothing preferences for yourself?
I love wearing Nike. Nike's always comfy and I feel like it lasts long. And Sweaty Betty as well. I love Sweaty Betty. I'll always jump on there when they've got a sale on because they are quite expensive, but the leggings are really good quality and they also last quite a long time as well. So they're my 2 favourite brands.
My daughter absolutely loves your fashion choices whenever she sees a photo of you on Instagram or when we're at an event together or something like that. And she's gone heavily into the Nike leggings and shorts and everything like that. That seems to be making a massive resurgence. Not that Nike's ever been particularly out of fashion, to be fair. Being recognised at work. So this has been a very strange and nice thing for you, for someone that's still very early on in their career. I think it's great to see your service giving you opportunities. You recently went down to the Cenotaph in London. That's a pretty incredible experience. What was that like?
Oh, what an experience that was. What a privilege to do that once in your career. Well, it's once in a lifetime, isn't it? And I met up with Dean Keeber. It was nice to see a familiar face.
Yeah.
And it was just an honour. It really was. They put us up in a lovely hotel in Westminster. We did some practice marching in Archbishop Park the day before, which was fun. Met a load of new people from all different services. And the day went really well. I was really impressed with my marching because I was quite worried about that. But the practice paid off. Practice paid off. And I just felt so incredibly proud to be there. What an experience. Yeah.
So what sort of things are you looking at over the next 12 months? Obviously, you've got the continued support of Rosenbauer. You're looking at some challenges for next year. You've got good connections with our Saudi lot. Obviously, we're hoping to get back out of there. Yes. What does the next 12 to 18 months look like for you?
So obviously, I've got the awards ceremony in December. I think I'm going to meet you there. So I've been nominated for an award. Yeah. So looking forward to that. So my brigade actually put me forwards. So the support from my brigade has been unbelievable, honestly. I'm just so grateful that they appreciate what I do and they put me out there and put me up for these awards, nominating me. And then after the award ceremony, I've got obviously High Rocks, so I'll be training for that. Then obviously, I think 2026 we go to Saudi, don't we? So Andrew Birch and Charlie Thompson have asked me to pick the ladies team. So I'm looking forward to that. I've got my eye on a couple of ladies.
It's a big opening up pool, and again, I'm not going to ask you to validate any of these thoughts and stuff. But when I see people like, there's Amy's always been really hard getting after it. She didn't have the opportunity to go last time. Zoe's a very impressive young lady. There's a number of people from the Cheshire team. Jade's been focusing really hard on her training. I feel like the women's firefighter challenge community is getting really, really exciting. The times seem to be getting faster and faster. And from the British perspective, and I know when I spoke to Alan the other day, they've got the North Ants, not the North Ants, sorry. What's their service going to be called? It's not North Ants, that's Dean. Oh,
South
God,
Coast.
I'm going to forget it, Alan.
South Coast?
South Coast. Thank you, Helena. You rescued me. South Coast are going to have their first one next year. So that's going to be at least 4 that people can get to.
Yeah.
And like you say, it gives us more opportunity to see some of these new great females sort of cropping up. Now I know you're trying your best to get out there and see great people performing, and let's not pretend you're not the gatekeeper of greatness. People don't have to meet Helena's standards, but if perhaps there's somebody that doesn't feel super brave, they're not somebody that posts on social media all the time, but they feel like they could add value to it, what would be the best way for people to get in contact with you if we wanted to drop some form of contact below? I don't want to put your phone number there. Where would be the best people to connect with you?
Instagram, I'd say.
Instagram.
Yeah.
So if we put a link to your Instagram underneath this, if there's female athletes that would like to learn a bit more about it, or if there's people that are training hard and competing out there that maybe want to come and join you for a session and sort of maybe speak to you about some of these adventures, we're always looking for more people to get involved in the community. And I will caveat this with, as you've already said, you're not on social media all the time. So if anybody does reach out, please bear with us, or bear with you and be appreciative of that.
Occasionally, so.
Yeah, so you're not going to be on there every day, but yeah, it's a good way for people to reach out. Always lovely catching up with you. I feel so lucky to have you in my friend circle, and I can't wait to see you at the awards soon. I will be there, front row, cheering you on, phone in hand, ready to capture the moment, because I'm eerily confident you'll probably do very well. I think it's important that we recognise people of your calibre with your sort of values and stuff like that. So it's a privilege to be able to come and join you for that. But
thank you. Even if I don't win the award, it's such an honour just to be nominated and shortlisted. I'm really grateful for that. So we'll see what happens.
It's great. You'll love the event. It's a beautiful event, down in a beautiful place. We recognise the Emergency Services Times and Andrew, who puts the events together every year. It's always a great event, and I know you'll love it. It'll be really surreal. You'll look all glamorous, and I'll look like I've fallen out of a wardrobe again. But we'll have a laugh nonetheless.
Yeah, we will.
Send my love to the team, send my love to everybody on station, and I look forward to catching up with you soon.
Yes, awesome. See you soon, Pete.
The Firefighters podcast was created to recognize, acknowledge, inspire, and hopefully even motivate these incredible individuals who have chosen to be part of the first responder community. Our drive and purpose is to create a legacy resource for the current and future generations of firefighters and first responders. We get some incredible feedback from listeners and guests. And as the podcast grows, our desire to create longevity and sustainability means that we are asking for the support of our listeners. If you want to support the podcast, if you want to get discounts to our merchandise, hoodies, clothing, coins, patches, tallies, and also access to all of the incredible documents get shared with us from our podcast guests and sector leaders, then please head over to our Patreon page, and for just £3 a month, you can support the future of the podcast. Please finally hit that follow, subscribe, or rate button on the platform you're listening, and wherever you're in the world, please support your emergency services responders, and thank you for listening.